focused on, our prayers, we're focused on the connection of the day, then we're thriving. And what 2 hours went by is like 2 minutes. Because we're thriving. We're not merely surviving and getting through. So I hope that was the experience on Yom Kippur for those who experience Yom Kippur. And now we say Good Yom Tov, because we're in the days in God's name, the 4 days representing the 4 letters of God's name. That's between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. Busy with mitzvahs. Mitzvah of Sukkah, mitzvah of Lulav and Esrog, getting ready for the time of our rejoicing. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad, Zuch Kadesh in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. In the act of creation, we have the divine attributes, particularly Malchus, sovereignty, royalty, the 10th of the 10 divine attributes, that is responsible for creating a yesh, a substantial being. Substantial meaning a sense of independence, a sense of own identity. So, for example, an angel is a creation. It has its own identity. It's an angel. It's not divine attributes of God. Yes, angels are messengers of God, but they have a sense of their own identity. Now we understand that because we have our own identity. We have a sense of being, that we are an end in ourselves. I am, I exist. So that all comes from creation of something from nothing. Ultimately, the power of God, the Ein Sof. But that power is vested into the Kav. Kav literally means a line. A line means there's a top, there's beginning, middle, and end. It is the divine source of limitation. The power of God's limitation is rooted in the Kav. So we have the Ein Sof, we have the Kav, we have the Kav, and we have the divine attributes, Malchus in particular. Now Malchus really makes a union together with the 6 emotional attributes that are greater than it, and through that union, vested in that union is the Kav, because that's the source of the divine attributes. Divine attributes are very specific, limited, created beings, because they're a vessel with light, the vessel being the delimiter and creating the parameters and the definition, where Kav doesn't really have it. It's only the beginning of the source of real limitation. So the Ein Sof, the Kav, are now vested in the vessel, the 30 vessels of Malchus of Atzilus. They break through a division between emanator and now creation. Atzilus, the world of emanation. And now the breakthrough, as it were, create now beings in the world of Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya, the world of creation, the world of formation, the world of action. All spiritual worlds, these 3 worlds that we're talking about right now, 3 spiritual worlds, and in their creation of the spiritual world, and ultimately this physical world, which we'll get into, um, create all the beings that are there. Souls, as we spoke about already, angels, and the world, you know, heichalos, chambers, just like we have here in our physical world. So there is also that's in the spiritual worlds in a similar manner. Now, the light of the Kav, so again, just the Malchus is the sort of the that power, and as it comes into Bria, Malchus of Atzilus, the world of emanation, as it comes into Bria, and is the power that's vested in it of the Ein Sof and the Kav, and the Kav itself and the light of the Kav, as we'll see, three things. It's the creative power. Now, in that creative power, you have three things that Malchus brings into being. Three dimensions rather. Not three things, many things, right? But three dimensions that it brings into creation. So we have the light of the Kav, which means the Kav again is that line that's totally bound up with the Ein Sof. It's the source. It's not even yet called limitation. It's a source of limitation. That the light of the Kav, not the Kav itself, that now is vested in the neshama level of the light of Malchus as it comes into Bria to create, and Yitzira and Nasiya. What it creates, the light of, is the source of the nature of created beings. Everything has a nature. Everything has a nature. The source of the nature of all created beings is the light of the Kav as it comes through the divine attribute of Malchus. What it creates is things with its unique nature. Then there's the Kav itself. It also is vested, right? Vested means it's in the divine attribute of Malchus, that is the sort of the bringing to the the creative force, but it's vested in it also the Kav itself. So the Kav, not the light of the Kav, but the Kav itself. And from there, in the creative process, it creates everything in a wonderment, meaning in a that there's a wonderment in everything in creation that it creates. The first level was there's a nature to everything it creates. That nature will be something that will repeats itself at all times. So the nature of angels, for example, are to sing the praise of God. But then in the creation of those angels, by way of the Kav itself, it brings wonderment in the act of creation. There's something more than what the nature is. And that is, for example, angels, that they perceive that there's something beyond them. So I'm giving angels, right? And us too, you can see. There's nature, and there's wonderment. that there's something more beyond. Nature means there is nothing beyond. This is just what it is. Then there is no. It's not what it is. There's something beyond it. There's a wonderment here. So, the light of the Kav creates the nature by way of Malchus in each world. And then the Kav itself, as it breaks through from the world of emanation into the world of the creative force, it's vested, right? It's clothed within Malchus, right? Of Bria, Malchus of Yitzira, Malchus of Asiya. And it creates in everything a wonderment. But now we have the final step. The final step is the Ein Sof itself. It too is found within Malchus. Malchus, royalty, sovereignty, the direct source of creation, which is the word, as a king rules with his word, right? Then there's vested, actually it's vested in Malchus, the Ein Sof, but in a manner of encompassing. Because the Ein Sof, the limitlessness of God, is found equally everywhere. In the spiritual world, of Bria, even Atzilus, and this world. But actually it is more found here in earth in particular. Of all the elements of creation, not in fire, not in air, not in water, but specifically earth. So the Ein Sof quality is found, right, specifically here. Not, it's specifically brought down here through a radiation of light into this world, and specifically in the most materialistic aspect of this world, which again is not fire, not air, and not water even, but earth. And this is reflected, and this power is then breaking nature itself and beyond even wonderment. Meaning, what's beyond wonderment? The power to create something from nothing is beyond wonderment. And that's why specifically in earth, we call her Mother Earth, because what happens there? There, you have things growing. Grass, trees, that are an expression of something from nothing. Ultimately, it's still a seed that you have to put into the ground, and it's still a ground that you have to put it into. So it's not the ultimate nothing, something from nothing, but it is the only expression. So in the spiritual worlds, this aspect you don't have. But in the physical world, specifically, you have the Ein Sof power of God, not by way of the Kav or the light of the Kav, but the Ein Sof itself. It is expressed in this world specifically, and specifically in this world, in the most coarseness of this world, the physical of this world, not in air, not physical, but in the ground, which we even step upon. And what is it reflecting? The power of the Ein Sof. That is the power of the Ein Sof to create something from nothing, to create something that antithetical to itself. God is no thing, and yet he makes something. When we say he's no thing, it means he's not even air. He's not even energy. He's not even light. He's not even whatever you're going to think of. And yet he creates something antithetical, a something, called a created being. And that something that is the most antithetical, fire, air, those are more, kind of conjure up more, of a force that is beyond water, even though it's also physical, but it's not as physical as earth. Right? You can't burn the earth. You can't evaporate the earth. But water could put out fire. Fire could evaporate the water. So what's the most physical? Physical? The lowest of the low, so to speak? Earth. And in there specifically is the expression of Ein Sof. Because it has a constant power of creating something from nothing, metaphorically, not exactly as God himself, but in the manner that you see that a seed puts in the ground and it rots, and from there comes a create, and that's constant. Now we see that also in in the animal kingdom, we see that birth in humans, but it's not constant. Where do we see the constants of it? Is in earth. And therefore, specifically in the creation of the physicality of this world, is an expression of the Ein Sof more than by way of the light of the Kav and the Kav itself, which are responsible, also part of creation, but they're creating the nature of something, the wonderment of something, but the Ein Sof is creating something in its act of creation of something that is breaking. It's not just wonderment. It's breaking all of any notion of anything and everything. Because that's Ein Sof has got no limitations. So it's breaking all the rules. Rules of nature, even wonderment of nature. And just as something is antithetical to the no thing of God, he places that in earth. That's a heavy-duty synopsis of the class. Okay. Any questions? I hope I brought clarity to that. Very deep, profound idea. Welcome, George. Teddy, isn't this all before nature started? Well, this is the process of creating the worlds in the spiritual realms, right? Because they're worlds too. And then the physical world, which we, just spoke about. How does this work with all of the concealment? It's all the concealment we experience. Ooh, good question, Teddy. Excellent question. Hopefully here we're getting some kind of revelation. Meaning, getting an understanding of the creative process, and through the understanding of that creative process, we can have an appreciation of how God is found in the physical world, and through this come to appreciate that the physical world is an expression of the Ein Sof, and connect to Hashem through mitzvahs that are in the physical world. So how we experience things that are concealment, that's another conversation, an important conversation. Here the conversation, just to give the context of it, is to appreciate God's presence in the physical. So therefore, that would give us a greater aptitude and desire to serve Him in the physical world. So maybe that helps to answer your question a bit of when God's presence is in the physical world, and we can attach ourselves through a mitzvah in the act of a physical act of putting on tefillin, the physical act of giving charity, putting a coin into the pushka, the physical act of, Sukkot is coming, of making a blessing over the physical things of the lulav and esrog, sitting in a physical sukkah. That all comes from this idea that we're speaking about. It's in this physical world that we have access to the Ein Sof. In the spiritual worlds, they have the access to Malchus that's creating, but primarily to the Kav and the light of the Kav. We have access to the Ein Sof specifically here. Brett, can I assume that the same expression applies to if life exists on other planets? So far, they haven't found any vegetation on any other planet. Constant growth, as on this planet. Interesting. Wow. That brings the notion is, yes, God can create other planets. It's not a problem that there be other planets. But from everything that we know of other planets, there's no constant growth of vegetation, something from nothing but a seed. Wow, that's an interesting idea. Thank you for bringing that up, Brett. I think kind of proves the idea that specifically here that God desires this world. That's actually pretty amazing. Thank you for bringing that up. Teddy, from creation to possible, almost close to another Mabel. I don't know what you mean by that. The black hay on the white on the black. Carol, I have a print of the black hay on the white and the white hay on black. I got as far as the dalet with the yud. What does it mean? Okay. Well, I don't know. I have to think about that, and I'm not certain. I have to. Okay. What does it mean if, with resources being exploited, how to speak about Ein Sof? with all the resources that are being exploited, we still see the power of something from nothing, or at least something that resembles that in Mother Earth. Again, we're still planting things and things are growing constantly. That hasn't changed, right? That hasn't changed. John, is there anything that could not exist in potential within our infinite God? Anything could, of course. But then when God desires it, it should be like this and not like that. So then that becomes, the reality. Very good questions. Okay, Raphael. The material physical body of the Jew part of Hashem, the Etzem, and there is so much brokenness in the physical. Raphael's. Yes. Maybe this is the answer, Raphael. Thank you. The fact that we don't recognize that in the physical is really an expression of the Ein Sof, and we are blinded by the fruits that it bears and the bounty that I could have, so we become blinded by that, and therefore we just seek the bounty rather than the recognition and the attachment that we can have to the source of that bounty. And that because of that, we become broken. And there's so much brokenness as a result, because we're not connecting to the source of everything. Very good, thank you, Raphael. Konya, will God reveal his current incomprehensible aspects in the future when Mashiach comes? Yes. So, God's revealing it to us to now in the teachings of Tanya and the like, right? The Hasidic teachings and Torah teachings in general. So that's being revealed to us, but that's revealed to us in our mind's eye. The physical eye, to be able to experience and to see the expression of it all, will be times of Mashiach. So what we're learning now, right now, is sort of like, okay, I see in my mind's eye. Mashiach comes, that's what the Tanya was talking about. Now I see it. Right, we'll see it with the physical eye. What does it mean we'll see with the physical eye? You're not going to see God physically. It means you'll see the expression of everything. It'll be just so obvious to us, just like the physical eye sees something that's so obvious. What we're learning now that might be understood and somewhat appreciated in the mind's eye, the physical eye will say, yeah, now I really see that idea. Clear. All right, folks. All amazing. All right, our discussion will continue tomorrow with the closing of this amazing letter that the Alter Rebbe wrote just a few days before his passing. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad in Kadesh, Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Rambam is coming up now, and tomorrow night will be the Torah studies on Sukkot, a preparation for the holiday that's coming, Sukkot. So please join us 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night. And now Rambam. Have a great day.